NC State wrestling fans, welcome back. Brand new episode, Pack Mentality Poppins podcast, presented by the Wolfpack Wrestling Club and Wolfpack ROTC. Episode 112. Pat Popolizio joining us, the head coach of the Wolfpack. Pat, we're only a week in. It's already been a busy season travel-wise.
You bet. On the road warriors this year.
The band is taking their tour on the road for a little while. Got some great action to recap. Big weekend coming up. Lots of wrestling going on. I guess I'll start with that. You guys had some outside competition last week, 2 duels. What was practice like coming back after, wrestling somebody else besides NC State?
It was good. We get finally a chance to see some outside competition, so guys were eager to do that, and it was pretty successful 2 duels so far.
As you said, Presbyterian, you guys went down to Fort Liberty, 48-0 over Presbyterian. Maybe even outside the wrestling match, how was the experience when you guys were down there?
Well, outside of being 40 degrees in the hangar, it was a really cool experience. Something unique, different. Obviously, it's a wrestling mat on the ground, so that doesn't change anything. But the whole setup around it was unique, and I thought the guys really enjoyed that atmosphere.
Did the coaches get to come out for intros out of the airplane like the wrestlers did?
No, I thought they were going to bring us in on a helicopter, but it didn't seem to happen. We should have parachuted in.
Okay. A great event. Lots of good coverage. Obviously, first duel of the season, not just for NC State, but collegiately. It was the first day, but always a very cool environment down there. Then you guys went over to Boone, Appalachian State, 40-3. Really impressive. That crowd was just nuts. They packed them in there. It was a great environment for you guys to get some competition on the road.
Yeah, it's always a fun trip up there, and those guys always have a good squad. So, we obviously got tested, and I thought the guys responded really well, and it was the whole gym was packed. I think it was obviously at that point standing room only. So it was good to see the guys, how they perform with a crowd like that, and it's just a little different from practice. So as we kind of get into the heart of our schedule, I think these gain valuable experience for the guys that have obviously been tested in years past. They're familiar with that kind of stuff, but some new faces, and it's always good to see how guys step up, and we really enjoy going up there and competing with those guys.
Big weekend coming up, going up to Bethlehem, PA, Lehigh Valley. How do you guys get up there?
We are flying into Newark.
Okay.
And then we got to take the drive over, which is only about an hour. And then we're in the heart of wrestling world, PA.
I assume you rented a bus to make that drive.
We have 4 SUVs, Brian.
I know.
Driving back at whatever time we left, 9:30.
One of these trips, I want to get you on a bus, the sleeper bus. But so I think Saturday you guys are up. Great event. Bloomsburg first, Purdue second. Great duels. Probably don't want to tell who's wrestling or not, but what kind of mindset are you going in sending guys out there for the 2 duels on Saturday?
Well, I think obviously Bloomsburg's a new team for us. We haven't competed against them since I think my time here. So that'll be a good start of the day. And then obviously when we get a chance to wrestle Purdue and the type of team they have, I think there's several ranked guys across their lineup. So it'll be a good test for the guys, and obviously some key matchups. 125, obviously, I think a lot of people are looking forward to that matchup between Ramos and Camacho. So that one should be fireworks there. And across the board, I think just the whole day there's going to be some really good duels and good matchups for wrestling fans to tune in and watch some elite wrestling. So yeah, it'll be a fun day on Saturday, and we'll have multiple starters wrestling Sunday as well, but probably the majority of our guys will be new guys that are trying to get some experience with the new red shirt rule. I think all our freshmen for the most part will be up competing, so you'll get a chance to see those guys as well.
Wow. You really jumped ahead here and covered basically everything I wrote down. I appreciate that. I mean, it's like
we have experience at this now, so
I mean, it's like you did homework for your own podcast. This is great. But Purdue, I actually thought it was interesting. Looking at all 20 starters, no one has ever faced anybody yet for both teams. And these are 2 programs you guys have obviously been up and near the top. In Purdue in the Big Ten, up and coming team, but they have a lot of highly ranked guys. you're going to be hitting a lot of new guys this weekend.
Yeah, it will. And I think that's much needed. We historically wrestle a lot of the same teams. So anytime we get a chance to see some new competition, I think it's motivating, exciting for the guys, and the matchups that are going to be kind of mapped out on paper should be some good ones.
You mentioned 125. Camacho, ranked number 8th in the country. He's got Matt Ramos, returning NCAA finalist from last year, preseason #1 guy. Never met in college, but they had a really wild match. I think it was the 2022 World Team Trials where nobody knew what the heck the scoring was at the end. Camacho came out on top, but everybody's looking forward to that one. How did Camacho respond to his first match of the season at App State?
Look great. I think that's one thing with him. He's had that year off, and he's grateful for the opportunity now. I think anytime as an athlete, when you have to take a year off, whatever circumstance it is, it makes you appreciate the opportunities that lie in front of you. And I think that's one thing we're going to see with Camacho this year is he's going to utilize and be excited to compete any chance that he gets. And obviously this is a big opportunity for him on Saturday. So I know he's looking forward to this match. And again, it'll be a wild and a fun one. I think that's one the fans want to see. So there'll be a lot of eyes on that match come Saturday.
There's a lot of good matchups, but one other one I want to point at, 184, 2 guys, both kind of new to their lineups, both, at the bottom of the rankings, but both of these guys are going to get up high in the rankings this year. For you guys, Dylan Fishback for Purdue, transfer, Roley, uber high recruit when he came in, world silver medal, I believe, at the under 20s. Fishback off to a fast start, 2 pins in his first 2 bouts. This is going to be, I think, in my opinion, 2 of the best young guys at 184 this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. It's always fun when you get a new guy in your lineup that has the ability as Fishback. He's fun to watch. He's very dynamic in his offense and really good on top. So the more experience he gets, the better it's going to be. And this is, if you look at his schedule throughout the year, he's going to see a lot of really good guys. So every opportunity for him is only going to make him better. And this is one, I think you get a little more skilled athlete that we get to compete against from the last 2, and it should be a fun match for him as well. But he's been looking good, from his last 2 outings. I think he's one that you put him in a good atmosphere. He competes. He likes to compete and showcase his skills, and I think this will be a fun one for him come Saturday as well.
Then you mentioned it on Sunday. You guys are staying up there. Sunday is a round robin, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but they kind of put wrestlers in different pods. So you face about 3 different guys. So it's a little bit different event, but you also put in guys, I won't say the same skill level, but the same accolades all in pods and all that. You mentioned your freshmen probably going up there, seeing some new guys too, some of the backups who haven't competed yet. Is there anybody you're looking forward to seeing up there wrestle in their first collegiate bout of the season?
Yeah, what I like about this is like you said, you can put guys into different you call them pods if you want, brackets, whatever. But I think you can go off experience. If you got a guy that's been in college for 4 years, you can match them up with guys that have that experience. And for some of our new guys, we want to just get them matches and kind of match them up with the same level of talent and get them the experience. But this is one where, we get to, with the new redshirt rules, we can use this as a date for our freshmen. So I'm excited to see those freshmen go out and compete. And then there's going to be a couple weight classes we're still trying to figure out. I think 65, you're going to see all of our starters probably, hopefully, be in the same bracket. So we can really see outside competition of who the guy is going to be. And, we're still working on some other depth spots. So that'll be a nice thing for us to map out where we're not doing wrestle-offs in our home gym. They can compete against other competition and really give us a good idea of who the number 2 guy, number 3 guy might be.
Not everybody that weighs in on Saturday will weigh in Sunday, but you're going to have quite a handful of guys that are going to do weigh-ins back-to-back days. Is that good this early in the season?
I think so. I think for the most part, guys are doing a really good job with their weight. It's November, so some guys are still working their weight down and managing that the best that they can. So we're going to mix and match our lineup come Friday and Saturday, but we'll have several starters wrestling both days. Trent being one of them. He likes to compete, so that's one that he's looking forward to. get 2 duels in on Saturday and hopefully 3 matches in on Sunday. So it's going to be a busy November for all of us, and then keep gaining momentum as we get to the heart of our season.
Pat, we don't pay you by the word. Quick catch up with you because we have a special guest coming on in a little bit. Alex Faison. We told his story here before. He thought he was done. He came back for this year. Just a great leader, great guy. North Carolina have in your room. So we're going to be talking to him. You mentioned it before, but what kind of leadership does Faison provide to this team?
I think he's a guy that has earned a ton of respect from this team. Anytime you come to a program and you start from the bottom and you build your way to the top, you can't help but really want to root for a guy like that. And I think that's kind of Faison's career. He came here, battled through a lot of good competition, wasn't the starter in the beginning of his career, and stayed the course and continued to improve. And that goes off his work ethic, attitude, and mentality. And so by default, he's turned into one of the best leaders that we've had within this program because he can relate to a lot of guys on this team. And I think he's a great role model for anybody that comes in here and, isn't the starter from day one, but just shows that if you put the time and the work and the sacrifice in, you can turn your career around to be something special. And that's what he's doing this year. I think he made a huge jump from last year and confidence, and you can see that. And he's just fun to watch. It's a good success story. But yeah, I think guys are voted on captains, and he was one of the guys that was elected to be a captain this year. And I think a lot of that has to do with the ROTC background in the military. They kind of correlate hand in hand with what we're about as a program. And we're fortunate enough to have 3 guys right now in the ROTC, and their leadership skills are much needed with this program.
Pat, great catching up. The NC State Roadshow concert keeps going up in PA this week. Excuse me. Could be exciting times. This is always a great event. You guys hit this one up every year. Some great competition, a lot of different matchups. Wolfpack fans are looking forward to it. Pat, thanks again. Maybe we'll catch you next week. This is 2 weeks in a row. This is a great start to the new Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast presented by the Wolfpack Wrestling Club.
You'll have the time to tune in this weekend if you're not too busy, Brian. I know that 9-to-5 job is tough on you. So
I might need some passwords so I can log in and watch. Some of these are hidden behind some paywalls, I think. So
yeah, you'll be all right.
We'll just see. Wolfpack fans, stay tuned. We have a featured interview with Alex Faison coming up next. All right, joining us now on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, NC State 174-pounder Alex Faison. Alex, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Hey, Brian. Hope you're doing good.
Now, usually I like to introduce the guy with their year of eligibility before their name, but you have been at NC State for an awful long time.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, came here in the summer of 2018.
Summer of 2018, yeah.
Okay, and now it is 2023. So a decade ago, you came almost.
It's been quite some time.
How would you, if like a TV announcer said, describe your eligibility year, what are you calling yourself right now? What do you think?
Probably just been here for about 3 years too long is what I'd say.
Getting that education though. Have you got your undergrad degree and all that already?
Yeah, I graduated last May, undergrad in criminology, and then now I'm in a graduate program to get a certificate in leadership and volunteer management. So it's been good. Okay,
so always benefits of staying around, and you've been here so long in the program, been in the room. What do you think? What's the difference between you as a freshman working out, practicing, and you in your 6th or 7th year in 2023? How has the body changed, or how has practice kind of changed for you?
Outside of freshman year, I wasn't super good, so I was getting beat up every day. Outside of that kind of stuff, my body definitely takes a lot longer to recover. I remember my freshman year, I feel like I could have gone into any workout and warmed up for like 2 minutes and been fine. And now I got to make sure I get really, really warm before I start wrestling.
Is there more post-match stretching too?
Yeah, there's a lot of recovery that needs to take place now. Body's not. I don't think my body's super happy with the 6th year. Obviously, coming back for the 6th year, it was a little bit in question though. You went through senior day,
had a nice run at ACCs to get to the championship bout, went to NCAAs, but you probably weren't going to come back when we were in the spring. Would that be right?
I'd say NCAA, after NCAA banquet, I was pretty much done. And then Pat kind of just got right onto it at NCAAs and, hey, we got to have you back, kind of thing. And kind of planted the seed in my mind. And of course, my parents were there. So we started talking to my parents and I didn't think it was possible. We had to go through some channels and figure out if it was possible or not. And, came out to be something I was able to do. And, kind of made my decision that the real world can wait for another year and I'll wrestle more.
Okay. I was going to say, if you didn't come back and went into the real world, did you have plans, or what was your thinking like when you were going over the summer?
I was slated to go to IBOLC, which is Infantry Basic Officer Leadership Course. It's down there in Fort Moore, in Georgia, formerly Fort Benning, in September. So this September I would have gone down there and kind of gone through that, and then going through Ranger School right after that. That was kind of my plan. Now, hopefully something similar, get down there. Still going to IBOLC, but get down there hopefully sometime towards the summer is my goal.
And obviously, we've talked about it before. Isaac Trumbull, Owen Treffin, and yourself, you have been in ROTC an awful long time.
Yeah.
Are you still kind of in that phase in school and all that? And how does that work, being in your 6th year doing all this stuff?
I'm still relatively active in the program. There's not much for me to do. A lot of ROTC is developing the cadets, and I've kind of gone through that pipeline of getting developed, structured manner that they have. So now I'm kind of just utility wherever they need me. I'll go help out. We also have NCSU Commandos is a I guess you would call it a club that I'm pretty heavily involved with. Produces really good officers and great leaders, and I'm pretty heavily involved with that. So shout out to those guys.
You got it. What about wrestling wise? I know very early in the season, glad you came back. Preseason, were you cursing yourself a little bit, or is this
preseason was a little different? That was something that I made sure to mention to Pat. Like, listen, I don't know if I'm getting on the track for 20 sprint laps, but it was good. It was fun. And, I got to be with my brother and the rest of my teammates for that. And, training hard's fun. So.
Your brother's on the team now, weight class below you. How has it been having a brother on the team?
He's actually dropping to 157 right now, so he's kind of grouchy, but it's awesome, man. I couldn't speak enough to how impactful that's been on my career here. My last 2 years has been awesome, just having him here and been able to watch him kind of grow up, and not just with wrestling, but just as a person. Seeing the kind of person and man he's becoming is pretty cool to see, because it's right in front of my eyes. And then also, like, just having my brother is just awesome, because I know I have someone that doesn't matter what happens, he's always going to be in my corner. So
you said he was a little cranky, but you kind of started out at 165 last year. Didn't work out for you. What kind of went into the change to get up to 174?
I wrestled 165 at the armbar at the Armory. I wrestled Bronigal down there. Tough kid from Illinois, and he definitely showed me that the 65 I wasn't going to be able to wrestle my best, but just cutting too much weight. And Pat kind of brought it up to me. 65 was kind of locked in at that point. He said, we'll send you to Vegas and see how you do there, and kind of bulked up. But I was a 74 the 2 years prior to that, so it wasn't like a crazy jump. I knew kind of where I needed to be. It wasn't a huge decision for me, just because that was the opportunity to wrestle with that 174, and just so happened that I could also not be miserable. So it worked out pretty well.
How's the weight cut now this year?
The weight cut, the last 2 weight cuts were a little rough, just because I think I'm not as leaned out yet. But I think this week I'm on a much better trajectory, and I think everything's kind of buffed out at this point, and we're in a good spot.
Have you sat down with the coaches, or have you thought in your mind mapping out this year? Are you going to go all the time, or do you think because you're a 6-year guy, you might not get a duel here and there? Is there any kind of plan going into the season?
We've talked a little bit, and kind of week by week thing. Like, I don't think this Sunday I'm wrestling in the round robin. I'm wrestling Purdue and Bloomsburg, but I think sometimes they'll have me wrestle, sometimes they won't. To me, it doesn't really matter. If they tell me to wrestle, I'm ready to wrestle and excited for the opportunity to compete. If not, I'll be excited for the opportunity to, take some time off. Whatever they think is best, I trust them wholeheartedly. So,
how was it being full-time in the lineup last year and being one of the veteran guys and obviously getting a lot of good results?
After 4 years of not being the guy and being super, super jealous, not jealous in a malicious way, but just really wanting to get out there and compete. Just being able to be in Reynolds and just compete and travel with the guys as a starter was such a breath of fresh air, and it was so awesome to just be able to compete every chance I got. So that was something that was just, I don't think I can put into words how awesome that was last year, and I'm looking forward to doing the same thing this year.
Being a North Carolina native, anything special about wrestling at NC State?
Yeah, it is. It's one of the things I'm most proud about is being from North Carolina. I think just because there's a lot of North Carolina guys that, don't necessarily make it to a high level of wrestling, and NC State's kind of a place where, when I was kind of going through my recruiting process, everyone said, you need to go here or there, because NC State, you're not going to start. They recruit, all these high level blue chip guys, and being able to say I don't really care and I'm going to go to NC State and get to start there was always big for me, and it's still big for me because I got to watch guys like Mike Mock and Malik and those North Carolina guys, and who were such a big inspiration to me when I was freshman, sophomore in college, because I got to see them compete. And they were North Carolina guys, and it means a lot to me to be able to compete with NC State, which is North Carolina's wrestling school. So,
did I read that right? You didn't start wrestling until you went to high school?
Yeah, so I played basketball in 8th grade. I wanted to wrestle when I was in 8th grade, but my parents weren't on board. I think they thought it was weird. But Coach Joe Van Cleve, my high school coach and mentor, for many, many years, got in my dad's ear and was kind of like, hey, you got to get him into wrestling. And so I tried it out. I had a really good coach my freshman year, Coach Vondruska. He wrestled at Ohio State. He's up in Ohio now. But I went to his office one morning and told me to show up, when, where, and went to my first practice, and I absolutely loved it.
You mentioned you got beat up a little bit freshman year here. You want to shout out any names?
Yeah, I'd like to give a big shout out to the Bully brothers, Hayden Hidley and Sam Malikian, for making me question a lot of things about myself.
But how is it on the other end now? Because you're that starter, you're wrestling with some backups and all that, but you kind of know what they're going through.
Yeah, I know. I think it's pretty positive for me to have both perspectives on it. Because I went through that. The thing is, our room is so good. We got so many guys and so many weights that, if anyone gets hurt in the starting lineup, we got a guy ready to come in behind them and, be nationally ranked probably right off rip or after a couple matches. So, we have a really, really, really good room, a really deep room right now too. So, there's no easy goes, and there's no, definitely no one's going through, I think, getting their shoulder ripped off by Thomas Bullard like I was my freshman year.
Shout out Thomas Bullard.
Yeah.
Will you go on record? Is this your last season of NC State wrestling?
I will go in front of a judge right now if I need to. This is it for me.
Have you set any personal goals, or what are you hoping to accomplish in your last year here?
I really just want to compete as good as I can and leave it all out there. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I felt like at NCAAs last year, I didn't really wrestle my best. Definitely walked away there thinking that, I had some unfinished business. And this year, I just want to wrestle to the, highest potential that I have for myself. And, whatever the result is, or whatever the outcome is, I'm okay with that, as long as, the product I'm putting out there on the mat is the best product I can put out there.
You guys are not in Reynolds until February. You guys are on the road a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like traveling, going to different events? Obviously, competing in Reynolds is great, but do you like getting around the country and doing some of this?
Yeah, I like traveling. Traveling with the guys is always fun just because so many memories and just jokes that get, occur on the road. Traveling is obviously, just walking 15 minutes to Reynolds is you can't beat that. But traveling's fun. You get to see new places, experience new things, and just be around the guys in different environments, and that's always fun. And I think that's something that a lot of people, when you talk to older guys in the sport who have moved on, traveling is one of the things they always bring up as, talking about stories. You remember when we went to here or there and this happened. So traveling's good.
Who would be the ideal roommate on the road this year for you?
The ideal roommate on the road. My brother and Trent are pretty good as far as rooming partners. I used to always room with Jacob Ferreira, so shout out to him.
Yep. Who is not a good roommate on the road?
Not a good roommate. I would say Dylan Fishback, because he snores.
Okay,
I didn't realize that I roomed with him in Boone last week, and I had to sleep with my beats on because the guy was snoring like a psychopath.
Have you requested the change for this weekend?
I'm with my brother this week, so there should be no snoring unless you develop the habit.
Alex, great catching up with you. Everybody loves your story. Like you said, you've just been in the program and you had to wait your turn and you weren't one of those guys that left and everything. And Pat has brought that up many times, how that helps your senior leadership on this team. And Wolfpack fans are just looking forward to you laying it all out on the mat.
Most definitely.
I think, and I've said before, I think you're one of the nicest guys off the mat, but on the mat, you're probably one of the meanest guys that I've ever seen wrestle. Do you like to wrestle angry? Would that be a good description of your style?
Yeah, I try to tune it down because sometimes I wrestle angry and I get myself into some trouble, but I like to go out there. We'll call it passion. Brian Dawkins style.
I like that. Alex, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We appreciate you having you this week.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.